Attention! This podcast contains content so naughty, it once made a nun blush. Listener discretion is advised. Your episode starts in 3, 2, 1. Hey there, my dirty little smut sluts, and welcome back to the Lusty Library Podcast. I'm Joey, this episode's hostess, and welcome if this is your first time joining us. A little bit about what we do here. Each episode, the host picks a romance novel that none of us has read before. We drink signature cocktails that pair beautifully with the book. And then as we start to get slightly inebriated, I yell at my co-host Birdie, while my other co-host Lex just sits in the back laughing.
I do enjoy the show. Stoking the fire.
Just listening back to the episodes, I do realize I yell at Birdie a lot.
I love it.
A
know.
lot.
See, the thing is that I don't even notice it. Am I a glutton for punishment? I don't know.
Or is that the way our relationship has always been?
It's the best.
And it's just transferring over to our podcast life.
I just see it as passion, excitement. You know.
I don't see it as yelling because also, as you know, my Italian side is strong. So I don't hear the yelling. I just hear passion.
No, so you're like, she loves me.
That's exactly it.
We are completely fucked up. And then, secondary to that, we are from the Northeast.
Are we?
But it translates to that's how we show affection here in the Northeast, too. If we're not ribbing you about something, we just don't like you. Right?
So what you're saying is if we're quiet and nice, we're actually judging you.
Absolutely. I judge everyone all the time anyways.
That's a great segue into this book, Joey.
I know.
Oh.
If you historically have been listening, I pick probably the most fucked up books in our rotation. And today is no exception to this rule.
I think you might have outdone yourself, actually.
Yeah.
I am just throwing the two of you into this dark romance pool come hell or high water.
You've made it to the point where I actually stepped out the door to walk my dog and was listening to the book, and I was like, should I be out walking alone right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck.
But if you notice, this is our 23rd episode. I have been slowly bringing you into this realm. Like, I didn't rip the Band-Aid off really early, but as we continue to progress and do more and more episodes, my books are going to get more and more fucked up.
It's true. I mean, murderers who murder other murderers is really just a gentle entry.
Serial killer romance. Starter kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But today, if you're wondering what book we're talking about, it is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This book is dark, so you really need to check out the trigger warnings. They're not listed in the book.
Are they not?
No.
Fuck.
Really?
Oh my God. I actually didn't realize that.
I'm surprised at that, especially since at the end of the book, she did such a good job of being like, okay, if you've experienced sexual assault and such, here's a number you can call. If you're having suicidal thoughts, here's another resource you can reach out to. So I really appreciated how respectful she was about that.
Absolutely.
And so I'm actually surprised there were no trigger warnings.
I'm going to read you the disclaimer tied to the book. This book contains subject matter that may be sensitive for some readers. There is a dark and triggering content between these pages. 18 plus only. Please read responsibly. Let me give you the summary of the book. When Cora attends her sister's birthday party, she expects at most a hangover or a walk of shame. She doesn't anticipate a stolen wallet, leaving her stranded and dependent on Dean, her arch nemesis, an ultimate thorn in her side. And she really doesn't anticipate waking up in shackles in a madman's basement. To make matters worse, Dean shares the space in his own set of chains. After 15 years of teasing, insults, and practical jokes, the ultimate joke seems to be on them. The two people who always thought they'd end up killing each other must now work together if they want to survive. But Cora and Dean have no idea their abductor has a plan for them. A plan that will alter the course of their relationship, blur the line between hate and love, and shackle them together with far more than just chains. I have to tell you, this book has been in my TBR for a very, very, very long time. And I said to myself, as we were starting to record season 1 last year, I'm like, oh, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait because I'm going to force these two to read this book with me.
And it's funny because, as we know, I'm not a big dark romance person. I come to this for fun and light and hearts and eyes and things like that. And you popped that cherry last season, and I was like, oh no. And then I saw another one coming down the line, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was reading the first couple chapters, and I'm like, I can do this. These are for my friends. I can do this book. And then I got into the story, and I was like, all right, I'm invested to see where this is going. Whereas the other one, I had to power through and really just knuckle down to read. This one, I was invested, and I just couldn't get in my brain fast enough.
We'll delve into how the book goes, but I gotta tell you, I think we're gonna need a cocktail or 5 to get through this book.
Yeah.
Today's cocktail is the Broken Heart.
Mixed for us by the lovely Lexx.
And it's funny because she walked into the house today and she's like, oh, I'm mixing your cocktail. I'm like, you sure as hell don't want me to mix it, do you?
She's more like, when have I ever mixed a cocktail? The recipe's in your email. Get in the kitchen.
Thank you, Lexx, for making this for us. And make sure you visit us at thelustylibrarypodcast.com to get this drink recipe or sign up for our mailing list. And we'll email it to you so you can make yourself a batch or 2 as you listen through this episode. But please drink responsibly and not while you're driving in the car on the way to work.
This is an excellent brunch option.
I was going to say, okay, just 5 times the recipe and make a picture. Sláinte.
Hey, Lexx, could you refill my glass while you're there?
All mine.
All right, so this book opens up and we meet our FMC, Cora Belle.
Cora Belle.
Who fucking hates to be called Cora Belle.
I love that name, though.
But she goes by Cora, and she's at her sister Mandy's 30th birthday party.
She and Mandy are just sewn at the hip. Like, they love each other. This is a good sister relationship.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, with her there is her soon-to-be brother-in-law, Dean, who she fucking hates. Mandy and Dean have been together for 15 years.
High school sweetheart.
Yeah. Cora's been stuck with Dean for 15 years, and they play so many pranks on each other. They're arch nemesises.
Nemesis?
Nemesis. I don't know if that's right. It just rolls off the tongue better.
I mean, nemesises could also be correct.
Nemesis. Have another sip.
The night is coming to a close. Cora doesn't want to leave. She's sitting in the bar talking to some dude, and she's like, nah, I'm not going to go home with him. 1 o'clock rolls around. She's like, all right, I'm going to go home. She goes outside. She's going to call an Uber. And then all of a sudden, while she's in her bag, she notices her wallet is gone. And she's like, oh, shit, what am I going to do now? I have no way to pay for anything. She calls a bunch of people to pick her up. Her sister's not answering. Her friend is not answering.
And no one picks up.
Except for
Dean. I was so confused at this part because I was like, why the fuck is she calling Dean? And he's alone. Why isn't Dean with Mandy? But then on my second read, I realized that she mentions that Mandy and Dean don't live together.
Yes.
While Cora is out there waiting for Dean to come get her, this creepy, nasty man starts to approach her and starts to hit on her. He wants to buy her a drink. And she's like, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. And of course, all of a sudden, Dean rolls up in his souped-up Charger just in time to save her to pick her up.
Of course, because I have a thing for guys who can drive cars and stuff. I was like, oh, he rolls up in a leather jacket and a Charger. What's up, Dean? What's up, Dean?
And while he gets out of the car to get Cora, creepy guy says, is this your girlfriend?
And Dean's like, hell no.
Hell no.
What an ass.
Cora's like, what the fuck? You don't have to be a dick about it. Just get me home. So the two of them are in the car. They're driving home. And of course, they're bickering the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Cora thinks Dean is stupid. Dean eggs her on. They're fighting. All of a sudden, they see police lights go off in the rearview mirror. So they pull over on the side of the road and all fucking hell breaks loose. Passenger window gets smashed. Hands around Cora's neck, trying to pull her out a window. Guy with the gun. Who the fuck is this guy, though? They get a look at him, and who is it?
It's the creepy guy.
It's the creepy guy.
Can I just say, the narrator for the audiobook was so good.
Yes.
Flipping back and forth between Cora and Dean's gravelly voice, and then the like, how you doing there, kitten? Creepy guy voice. She was so good.
I was going to say, is it a female reader?
The book is broken up into 3 parts. Part 1, it's a female narrator. Part 2 is the male narrator. Part 3 is back to the female narrator.
It's the perspective of the person.
Yeah.
So Cora's chapters are female. Dean's chapters are a male.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. She was probably one of my more favorite male voice
Yeah.
narrators for a female, especially just with this element of creep factor.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, yeah, she gave me the heebie-jeebies.
This crazy guy hits Dean on the head with a gun, and Cora passes out. The two of them all of a sudden wake up in a basement. They have their hands tied behind them with handcuffs, and they're attached to a pole.
Separate poles, opposite corners.
Across the room from each other.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck?
Absolutely terrifying.
This is the shit that you have fucking nightmares about.
But here's the worst part. Cora is just lashing out at him.
She's a
Yeah.
fucking asshole to Dean.
Yes. I felt that way from the beginning. So there's this banter that they do at the birthday party. And at one point, I think he says this in the car because she's being pretty assholey to him when he's picked her up in the middle of the night. And he's
Yeah.
like, dude, I know I was an ass in high school. We're in our 30s now. Can you let that go? She's like, well, I would, except you keep pranking me. And he's like, but we have fun with it. And she's like, no, you're an asshole. And this continues in the basement. And as Joey said, she's lashing out at Dean and just blaming him for they're there because he didn't drive away fast enough.
It was killing me. To watch that banter in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But again, you heard the internal monologue perspective of, I need to keep it normal. I need to keep it the same way it is. I need to lash out, and he's here.
Mhm.
I need him to keep me sane. Cora's sitting there like, what does this guy want with us? Who does he really want?
They're doing the banter, and then it just hits her like, I'm going to be raped. And I think she even says it out loud. Who knows what's going to happen to you, but historically, guess what's happening to me? And just the way she wilted. And from that moment on, he's not trying to lessen what she's going to have happen. He doesn't go like, no, it's not going to happen. He knows it's going to happen too. And he's just trying to find ways to be there with her, to connect, to try and make it a little less horrible.
All of a sudden, bad guy comes down. We find out his name is Earl, of course. You want to talk about serial killer name? Earl probably is in the top 10 list of serial killer names.
Which I feel bad for anybody who's actually named Earl now. It's like the people who are named Karen. That name is tainted forever.
Dixie Chicks probably killed that one back in the 90s.
Yeah,
So.
it's true.
Earl, being a bad guy, is going to rape Cora.
Mhm.
And he rapes her in front of Dean. And it is a very heartbreaking situation to read or
Mhm.
listen to. But the one amazing thing of it is Dean is supporting the ever-loving shit out of her this entire time. You hear him in the corner going, just look at me. It's just us here.
He's just such a good, warm supporter. And he never came across as a dick. Not once. Like, you could tell every time that he was being like little sassy pants, he was being sassy pants. He wasn't being a real dick. I never assumed that he was a jerk. And from that instant where you start to read the section about her getting raped and he's just such a support and he helps her kind of black out during that so that it lessens the pain for her. And he's like, I'm here for you. It's just you and me, eyes on me. We're going to get through this.
And he never gives up on the idea that they will escape.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And he promises Earl that he's going to get out of here and he's going to kill Earl. He's going to make him feel pain.
But for people that are arch nemesises, the seeds
we need to look this up.
who are complete enemies, he does such amazing things. He gives her his shoes because all she had was stilettos on. He also is very protective when Earl comes down.
Mm-hmm.
He says, don't touch her. Hurt me.
Do whatever you're going to do it to me. Oh. Just remembered this little piece. He sings to her.
Oh, I think she knew this whole time that he was good at heart, but she admits it very early on, like, oh, well, maybe this is what Mandy saw in him.
I feel like the whole time she's the one who saw them as enemies. He never did. It was very one-sided.
Right. So days pass and this continues and continues and continues. And you watch the relationship all of a sudden switch between Cora and Dean.
The building that happened in that singular room of their development together was so good. I forgot I was reading a book about kidnapping, rape, and potential murder.
Mm-hmm.
It was addictive.
Yeah.
I could not stop reading about it. But I love that conversation starter that he had where she's got this far off look in her eyes and he goes, penny for your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of opens it all up. And they start doing this like, well, we might die. So confession for a confession. Let's trade.
Because they didn't have a pen.
Oh, right. Talk about a great way to like break the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
The first confession he makes.
Woof. Woof.
Yeah.
He really went for it.
Oh, he did. He brought out the big guns first.
It was almost like he was waiting his whole 15 years for this moment.
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't ease into this confession, believing that there was a chance that they were going to make it out, but he still went for this, he could have held it back, even for a couple days.
Yeah, but I think he was trying to build their connection.
Well,
And he saw the walls were coming down. He says, so what other better way than
to fucking confess my childhood crush for you?
Yeah.
He liked her from the first instant that he saw her. It was love at first sight. And because he was a goddamn child, he just couldn't enjoy her like a normal human. He's like, let me show you how much I like you by putting a tarantula in your shoe.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
Yeah.
Stupid kid stuff.
Obviously, this blew her fucking socks off. And she's like, I'm sorry. What?
You've been with my sister for 15 years. What are you talking about? That immediately made my brain go, so did you take the sister as second prize?
Absolutely. That was the first thing that went through my head. Cora was pushing him away because she didn't receive the tarantula in the shoe well.
Yeah.
So she wasn't immediately reaching out to him either.
Yeah.
But how else do you keep your crush close to you than to date her sister?
Oh, of course. But that's like fucking insane.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what happens through the mind of a 15-year-old.
I know. It is
Yeah.
kind of ridiculous.
And that leads to the point of he's like, I grew out of things.
Cora makes a crazy confession that she lost her virginity at 19 years old to her high school English teacher.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good confession.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I thought it was Brandon. And she's like, what the fuck? How do you know about my sex life? And he's like, oh, Mandy tells me everything. But I love that. And he's like, what the fuck? How come I didn't know that? And she's like, because I haven't even told Mandy.
And then he had that urge to want to go beat up the English teacher
Oh,
for
yeah.
taking
Yes.
advantage of a young girl.
Yes. Love that. I mean, she's 19, so hey.
It's back to his turn, and he gives another confession. So in Cora's mind, she always thought that her last relationship of 4 years ended because of Dean. And that's all she's ever known. Dean admits to her that he caught her ex-boyfriend Brandon cheating on her and forced him to break up with her.
And the reason that Dean did that was because her previous boyfriend had also cheated on her, and he knew that if she found out that a second guy had cheated on her, it would give her a complex that would be very difficult for her to get over, and he was protecting her.
Yeah.
So he told Brandon to make it his fault. Sounded like Brandon did kind of feel bad. And he's like, no, it's going to break her heart. Please don't tell her this happened. And he's like, no, you're going to break up with her because you're a douchebag, but you're just going to tell her it's my fault.
Yeah.
He took a real hit for that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Dean.
You have stars in your eyes. It's adorable.
I love Dean.
Before Cora can make her next confession, Earl comes down the stairs. He's got a gun, takes the handcuffs off Dean, and tells Dean to fuck Cora in front of him.
And if Dean doesn't, he will shoot him in the head.
Dean says he's not going to do it. He's like, no, kill me. I don't care.
The Earl puts the gun right up to Dean's head. And then Cora shouts, no, I'll do it.
She basically has to be like, no, I want you to do it. Don't not do this because of chivalry. Like, come on, just do this. Like, I don't want you to die.
Dean goes to do it, and he tries to kiss Cora, and Cora won't kiss him. Because then it brings it to a different level.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, this weirded me out because I found this scene to be so fucking intimate.
Yes.
For such a fucking horrible thing that is happening, they weren't looking at each other in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But Dean put his hand on Cora's wrist and massaged it.
Yes.
And just was whispering in her ear, focus on my hand. Focus on this feeling. Cora wouldn't kiss him, but unfortunately, Dean was not getting into it. He's being forced to have sex.
And what does Earl say at one point? He's just like, she's a hot piece of ass. Why can't you get it up?
Yeah.
Ooh. So she's basically just like, kiss me.
Yeah.
I just felt so bad for Dean in that moment because you could just tell this is like a moment that maybe he's dreamed of for years. And this is how it's happening.
Yeah.
Gun to his head.
Mm-hmm.
We find out the only woman he's ever been with is Mandy.
Yeah.
Oh, Dean.
We totally glossed over what's Earl doing while this is happening.
Ugh.
Yeah. So now we know how Earl gets his jollies.
Mm-hmm.
And just the mental image of him jacking off while that was happening was like, huh.
Yeah.
Earl. Blah. So Earl goes and he chains Dean back up to his pipe. And Dean's facing away from Cora, not speaking. And Cora's like, Dean. She can't get him to respond for the whole night. Up to this point, Dean had been singing her to sleep every night to try and comfort her with her favorite song.
She didn't know that he knew it was her favorite song.
And he's like, you learned something in 15 years. She goes to sleep and no singing that night, and he doesn't even acknowledge her. It's interesting you said that you find this intimate. Like, it is intimate. So what's the difference between intimacy and sexy? Like, the scene is very intimate, but it's not sexy to me.
Here's my fucked up thing coming out of this. I was like, ooh, this is kind of hot. I was like, I am fucked up. Obviously, the construct is not hot at all.
No.
But you can tell that, like, things are shifting. The way that it gets described and the way that it's written, the intimacy becomes hot in a way. And it's fucked up.
So that just says to me that when you have sex, you have the best sex when you connect with someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
On that other level.
Yeah.
Because I was having all these emotions throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of sex in here. There's forced sex as well as consensual sex.
Yes.
And you say to yourself, so did this end up being a steamy ball? Well, there's also a lot of intimacy in this, in those forced situations that kind of took you out of you're being forced to have sex with this person, but you're still making it intimate and connecting with that person. That's the hottest thing I felt about this book.
Yeah.
I felt like the most fucked up person in the whole world.
But I think that was the intent in her writing style and the way it was written for you to have those emotions.
And that's the thing is this was so well written. Because this is way out of my comfort zone for all kinds of personal reasons. The way it's written, I was riveted.
Yeah, 100%. If somebody said, oh, would you like to read this book about two people that get kidnapped and then the woman gets raped and then has forced sex, not really consensual, but like just reading the synopsis of this book, I was like, fuck no, I'm not going to read this book. So I started reading it very early on in the timeline of when we were deciding what books we were going to read, because I was thinking I was going to have to tell Joey, like, fuck no to this book. And then I was like, oh my God, it's so good.
You're kind of flashing through. They're down there for about 20 days at this point. We're also starting to get flashbacks into situations and moments over the past 15 years that the two of them had together. The moment where they're going to a Christmas dinner and all of a sudden Cora screams from the backseat of the car with Mandy and Dean in the front, pull over because there's a dog in the middle of the road. Both Mandy and Dean are giving her a hard time. No, we're not pulling over. We're already late. But Dean does it. He pulls over. Cora goes for the dog in the middle of the median of a 2-lane highway.
I was going to say she runs into traffic in the middle of a snowstorm.
And Dean follows her.
He's like, what were you thinking? How are you going to get the dog back to the car?
He scares the dog away. She, of course, is being very Cora to Dean. Well, why the hell did you come here? I've got this all under control. Dean then dashes after the dog, gets the dog, almost gets hit bringing the dog back, and saves the dog. And Cora keeps the dog and calls it Blizzard.
Sweet Dean.
So you watch that relationship and you're like, oh, no.
This is not new.
He cares about her.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form.
I almost found it hard to believe that other people didn't call him on it earlier. After we heard a couple more of things, I was like, this is almost obvious.
Right. They're basically living off of one turkey sandwich a day, one glass of water. Earl lets them use the bathroom once,
brush their teeth,
and then they go back to the basement and get tied there. And he comes regularly and has sex. And they realize a pattern. Earl has a Monday through Friday job. He comes down in the morning, does his deed, goes to work, comes back. In one of the instances where Earl comes down and he takes his belt off, part of the buckle flies off. And it's kind of like the little pin that goes in the rivet hole of a belt.
I see Birdie smiling like,
How did he not notice that was missing?
Especially, how else are you going to keep your pants on without that?
He would have noticed immediately when he went to put his pants back on afterwards. I don't know. I found that a little bit hard to believe, but it's okay. We're going to keep running with it.
You have to have a moment of suspension of disbelief. At least one little moment.
This is a very small one.
I'm glad you said that this time, and it's not just me.
You know, and it's funny because while I was reading the book, that didn't hit me until you brought it up. You're not going, did he not notice that it was missing on his belt?
Oh, God. You would hate to be in my head. Fuck.
Well, Dean sees it. Dumb old Earl does not. So the next time Earl comes back down, Dean gets unlocked. And Dean kind of goats Earl a little bit to distract him. So Earl ends up hitting him in the face. Dean crouches down and he picks up this pin.
This scene, there was like a different energy because there was this like weird hope in the air that they were going to get out. And because now he's got his hands behind her and he's pretending that it's him just kind of holding her ass while he fucks her. But he's like going a little bit slower than usual. And he's trying to get her handcuffs undone with the pin from the belt. And then he says, I need you to moan. To cover the sound of them unclicking. I'm like, having to fake that, it like changes things. And you just know that Earl is watching and you're just like, oh, God.
Didn't Earl say something like, oh, Kitten really liked it that time?
Yep. You just want Earl to die the entire time.
But that's also a really key, important part with Earl and what he's looking for.
Yes,
Yeah.
true. Kitten loves her doggy's bone.
Ugh. Ugh.
God, it was well written.
I was going to say he's written so well because
Yeah.
we hate him so much.
The way that Cora says that he smells like cooked carrots.
Ugh.
Oh.
Subliminally, you could smell that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just that description as whenever you were hearing his voice, you're like, ugh.
Cooked carrots and sour sweat and BO and ugh.
There's a whole bunch of food that I didn't want after this book.
Yeah.
Carrots, turkey sandwiches.
Yep.
Ugh. So Earl goes to work.
And they decide they're going to wait an hour. They're just quiet. They're sitting there waiting and waiting. And finally, they feel it's safe. And this moment completely brought a tear to my eye. Cora gets up. She's free. This is the first time, besides going to the bathroom, that she is not handcuffed to her pipe. And she goes over to Dean and just touches him, running her hands through his hair, down his chest. More of like, this is the first human contact he's been able to have in the 20 days they've been down there.
Human contact she chooses.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now Dean starts to try to talk her through undoing his handcuffs. And she tries. Just the adrenaline going through her, and she can't do it. And he is so sweet and so supportive and says, it's okay. It's really okay. Just go get us help. She goes up the stairs, finds herself in this older house. She's in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
She finds some bills, gets Earl's full name, the address of where they're at, and pans and sees a calendar on the wall. And just sees X's. And then the words new pets on there.
Ugh.
They were taken November 8th, and it's now November 25th. She flips back and she sees new pets again and knows that they're not the first victims of Earl, that there have been other people there, and they have lasted 22 days. She's going to go get help. She's got just a T-shirt on and Dean's shoes.
In the Midwest, in the middle of winter.
She opens the front door and goes to make a run for it.
It was so fucking brutal because in my head, she'd made it a good 20 feet, and I just don't know how this is physically possible that gross Earl could run fast enough to catch her and yank her around the waist and snatch her up.
Well, she's probably weakened at this point. She hasn't been eaten. She's definitely dehydrated. A glass of milk, water, whatever.
She's
a
probably
day.
hobbling.
Yeah.
But she wasn't expecting him.
Yeah.
She wasn't looking around to see Earl over on the right while she's making a dash for it. Most likely she was looking straight ahead and is like, oh my God, I need to get help.
Earl's over on the right barbecuing a turkey because it's fucking Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing in the mind of Birdie. She was looking at a calendar. She didn't notice it said Thanksgiving Day on the calendar.
Think about her level of endorphin at this point.
Okay, fine.
In
How about
small type font, it's 0.4 down the bottom of a calendar?
Yeah.
It's not smack dab in the middle. She's seeing these big X's across it. She's looking at other things. It could have easily been missed.
Also, not everybody has the attention to detail that you do.
But okay. Moving on.
Speaking of attention to detail, so as Earl's dragging her back through the house, I liked the detail where she was like, I've lived with cell phones for so long. I didn't think to grab the landline that was right next to the calendar.
Or to look for a
Yeah.
landline, because nobody has landlines anymore.
Right. Not only getting so close to getting free, but to feel that defeat like, oh, I fucked it up.
Yeah.
That just killed me. It was brutal.
And what was even more brutal was envisioning the feeling of getting kicked down the stairs.
Oh, God, yeah.
That is a fear that I have just in general. Every time I go down the stairs, I fucking flash to, oh my God, what if I tripped and fell?
Yeah.
And like, The thought of being so weak and being like 2 stairs down and just having somebody's boot hit the middle of your back.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't just tripped and fallen, so you're going tumble, tumble, tumble. You're flying. You are literally airborne. And she hits probably right before the bottom of the stairs and then smacks her head on the concrete.
Oh,
God. It's brutal.
such a visceral reaction I had to that.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
For me, it was when Earl has her by the hair and he's dragging her through the house and you
Ooh,
can hear
yeah.
Dean screaming
Yeah.
from the basement in panic and just so distraught over what is happening upstairs. My heart was just getting clenched at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine not knowing what is happening upstairs, hearing the screaming, hearing Earl there when you don't expect him to be, Cora crying? I was just like, oh, my heart is breaking the entire time.
I honestly found it shocking that Earl didn't kill her like right in that moment.
They hadn't hit the point,
They were so close.
but they weren't there yet. And he has a very specific thing he wants from them. He's still in control. It's just a naughty pet. This terrible person just corrects his animal that he sees. He doesn't even see him as human.
Oh, God.
So they're back downstairs. Earl does not come back again that day, but he comes back the next morning for his usual business that he does with them. He unlocks Dean. Dean and Cora have sex, but it's very, very different this time. Cora actually has an orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I feel like she's just having this moment where she's like, first of all, she's alive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so grateful she's not dead. So they have this like, holy shit, we're alive energy. And they are able to block out Earl during this time.
I feel like they're almost desensitized to him at this point.
Totally. They don't give a shit about what he's doing. They never have. But that moment where you're like, oh God, and like Dean pulls back from not being in the crook of her neck
Mm-hmm.
and he pulls back to look at her. I was like,
So once they're done, as Earl is walking Dean back to his pipe, Dean starts to verbally fight with him, calls him a fat piece of shit. And as Earl is pulling out his gun, either A, gonna kill Dean, knock him upside the head with the butt of the gun, all of a sudden, Cora screams, and it distracts Earl enough, and Dean starts pummeling him.
Oh, he loses it. He unleashes, and I could just imagine the wet sounds that were being made.
oh.
But what was he saying the entire time he was pummeling Earl?
Wasn't he saying like, I'm going to kill you?
You'll never touch her again.
Yeah.
You're going to pay for everything you did to her.
Yeah.
It was never about him.
Yeah.
It was all about Cora and his protectiveness towards her.
Dean.
Yeah.
But it was even more brutal that he was so blindly enraged. Oh, God. I'm like, I feel queasy even saying this out loud that he had like smashed his skull in.
Yeah, this is where beaten to a pulp comes from in a very literal sense.
Yeah. And Cora was like, Dean, he's dead. He's dead. Stop. Please stop. The fact that she had to say that out loud to him was brutal.
Scream it repeatedly because
Ooh.
it wasn't getting through.
Ooh.
Earl's dead, and the two of them are free. They get upstairs, and Cora just makes a mad dash for outside when she hears the sirens. She just needs out of that house. And basically, they're holding hands the entire time as the police are coming through to rescue them. Fast forward, 2 weeks have passed. Mandy and Dean are at Mandy's parents' house, which is also Cora's parents' house, having dinner. Dean has been numb this entire time. He has been self-medicating with alcohol, has not been leaving the house. Mandy hasn't been there.
Well, Mandy tries to be there, and he keeps pushing her away.
Yeah.
I felt bad for Mandy.
I did feel bad for Mandy.
Cora wasn't supposed to be at the family dinner, but she's there, and this is the first time they've seen each other since they were rescued.
Mm-hmm.
Things are a little weird because they're sitting at the dinner table, and all of a sudden Mandy blurts out that Cora was pregnant.
That killed me dead.
Yeah.
I mean, they were there for 20 days, so
Mhm.
it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She was getting fucked every fucking day,
Mhm.
basically,
Yep.
for 20 days.
Sometimes by both of them.
Yeah.
And Cora gets upset, and she ends up going upstairs. And Dean goes to console her.
He didn't know
Mhm.
about it, and he was like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like, did you know if it was mine? And that's when we find out that it wasn't actually a viable pregnancy. You know, when she got kicked down the stairs, or
Yeah.
maybe she was like severely undernourished.
Yeah.
That it didn't survive. God, can we talk about something happy?
Yeah. There's not going to be happy for a long time in this book.
I just have one thing to say. Jennifer Hartman, you okay, girl? I just can't fathom inventing this story in my head and having to think about it for so long that I wrote hundreds of pages about it and had to think so hard about every single one of these characters that you thought about the color of the t-shirt they were going to wear and the color of the rug in their house and the smell of their house and what they did for a living. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dean and Cora start to try to have some interactions with each other again. A couple of more days pass. Dean texts Cora, hey, do you want to go and have coffee? I mean, they should really be supporting each other through this process. And Cora's like, well, how about now? I'm outside your door.
That was cute.
She comes in and they start talking about how they're coping with situations and how she doesn't feel like it's Christmas. And he puts on some Christmas music and she falls asleep on his shoulder. And this just starts this connection between the two of them. They're both having nightmares. Dean is self-medicating with alcohol. Dean and Mandy were supposed to get married. They're not having the wedding.
It's not rescheduled.
No.
And as bad as I feel for Mandy, I got a little annoyed at it was only 20 days. You guys start healing.
Right?
Chop, chop.
Oh, 20 days of celibacy.
Well, why aren't you letting me in? Well,
Yeah.
I know it was bad, but you were only down there for 20 days. That wasn't long enough to be how you are. And it's like, fuck you.
That was brutal.
Yeah. She is painted throughout the book as being a little more superficial.
Yes.
Talking about like the way she dresses and what she finds entertaining. It's part of, I think, what Jennifer is saying about their connection between Dean and Mandy is not being deep.
Yes.
I think a lot of times you also heard the family just kind of talk about normal banter stuff. And I think it was also to show that Cora and Dean had this unique connection because they had been through something so tragic together that nobody but each other was going to understand what they had been through.
In my head, I'm like, all right, you need to get into a group. You need to find other trauma victims.
Right.
Realize it's not just the two of you.
There's a point in the book where I was going, why are you not going to therapy? I kept saying it over and over again.
Well, they did both go to therapy, but the big problem was that neither of them were being fully honest with their therapist.
Yes.
I know.
That's the whole point.
Nobody knew, maybe except the police, that the two of them had to have sex with each other.
Right. Until that news article came out.
Yeah.
But it didn't really reveal what had happened.
No.
But it started to make people go, huh. And one of those people was Mandy.
Yeah.
So, of course, the FBI dug up his whole property and they found 11 bodies. That's an odd number.
It is not. Yeah.
They've nicknamed him the matchmaker. And that apparently he would take his victims in pairs of non-romantically connected people and he would keep them alive until he thought they had fallen in love. And then he would kill them. Fucked!
Once the connection between these two individuals was established, he would then kill one in front of the other to torture them.
Brutal.
Because they had fallen in love. Now someone that you love is being murdered. Fucked up motherfucker.
He had also threatened to feed the pieces to his dogs.
Right. Which we found out later was a German Shepherd and a Yorkie.
Yes.
You just watch the back and forth between Cora and Dean and how they become crutches to each other, how they're supporting each other, how a lot of times through nightmares, they're falling asleep in each other's arms. And that is the only time they're able to sleep peacefully.
It was the only place that either of them felt safe.
Yeah.
So they feel like they continue to need that safety blanket.
Mandy, of course, really wants both Cora and Dean to move on with their lives. So one of the big components is Mandy says, oh, I got a friend named Jason. Cora should really go out with him. And Dean chimes in and he's like, it's too soon for her.
Yeah.
And Mandy's just like, huh? What? Like, no, she just needs to get back on that horse. The girl was raped for 20 days straight.
Yes.
That was hard for me to hear,
Yeah.
especially like her sister being like, she just needs to get out there. And also Dean being like, no, she doesn't. How about we just ask fucking Cora what she wants to do?
Yeah.
Like, everybody shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Cora will make her own decisions. Thank y'all very much.
And she does. And Cora decides that she will go out with Jason and they're going to go on a double date. So it's Cora and this guy, Jason, and Mandy and Dean.
Oh, such a bad idea.
And the dinner went, extravagantly beautiful. And I think this is when you realize shit's about to hit the fan here. Dean does not like this guy, Jason. He thinks Cora should not be dating anybody.
He wouldn't have liked Jason if Jason was an angel sent from heaven.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Jason gets up to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And Dean follows him.
Oh, so bad.
And basically, Dean tells Jason to stay away from her, that Cora's not ready and he needs to leave. And Jason basically says, dude, I am not getting in the middle of this. You clearly are in love with Cora while you're sitting next to her sister, who is your fiance.
He called him on it.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I kind of liked that moment because Jason saw it. He figured it out.
Yeah.
But he also makes a comment like, I don't do competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Cora watches the interaction happen and she storms out.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dean chases her to her car and she's like, this is over. We can't keep relying on each other to get through this. What we have is toxic. And she's like, it needs to end. You're hurting me. And she storms off in her car. And Dean turns around and Mandy is there in the parking lot, just looking at him. He's drunk and Mandy leaves him sitting in the parking lot. And he makes a statement that broke my heart. It's all right. I have slept in worse places.
Yeah, that was brutal.
And this is kind of the turning point. He wakes up the next morning. He's been drunk and him and Mandy are having a conversation. And Mandy can see that there's a connection between Cora and Dean.
Mm-hmm.
And Mandy says, I want to be the person that helps you get through this. You haven't touched me in so many days. And this is the moment where Dean realizes that maybe things are just not right between the two of them.
Yeah.
Pretty much Dean feels like he's somebody different now. And he just feels like she is not the right person for him. He does something crazy and he breaks up with her.
Ugh. That scene where she was just like, you can't do this. And that's where you get, she really did care about him. She's like, do you know what I did while you were gone? Every day. Posters, search parties, doing things on social media. She really searched for them while they were gone.
My heart broke for her because she said the past 15 years meant nothing then. You're giving up coming back. And part of me felt for her at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But also the other part felt for Dean because all of a sudden he had an enlightenment.
Yeah, I like that he said, no, we had a great run. I'm not discounting those 15 years, but we're not meant to go forward.
Yeah.
And I think when you have such a traumatic situation, you have such self-reflection. And he just looked back and said, she's just not the one for me.
Yeah, it seems like he just didn't realize that life could be a different sort of way.
Yeah.
And he was shown that he could have this other kind of love and a different kind of passion and a different kind of connection. Whether it was with Cora or somebody else, it didn't matter. But he didn't have it with Mandy.
Mm-hmm.
So now Dean and Mandy have broken up. Dean and Cora have been talking. They talk on the phone. They may not see each other, but they talk on the phone every single day. And all of a sudden, Dean gets a text from Cora that says, I may have done something a little batshit. And he's like, a little batshit? She's like, what? And sends him a picture. She adopted 2 dogs.
It's the 2 dogs that were Earl's dogs.
It's so ridiculous.
No, but I can see that.
I mean, sure.
Because they were just as abused as the humans that were there. I can see feeling a connection with other beings that Earl hurt. And it's like, okay, let's all heal together. Yeah. I actually really liked that. And I was like, oh, yeah, I feel that.
Dean ends up going to Cora's house and is like, what did you do? Oh, by the way, have you talked to Mandy?
Yeah.
And Cora's like, huh? Dean basically tells her that he has broken up with Mandy. And Cora goes, it's because of me. Fix this.
Undo it.
Cora completely feels like it's her fault. Dean is trying to reassure her that no, we just changed. It has nothing to do with you. So things get a little strained between Dean and Cora. They don't talk for a couple of days, even though they were talking every day on the phone. All of a sudden, the power goes out. Dean knows that Cora doesn't like the dark ever since she was little. It could have something to do with Dean torturing her and reenacting The Ring in the middle of the night, that now Cora has to sleep with the lights on all the time.
Poor fucking girl.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Dean's worried about her, texts her to see if her power's out. She says yes. And he's like, I'll be right there. I know you don't like the dark. And she's like, you don't have to do that. He goes, I want to. And he drives over to the house. They're there in the dark. She has a glass of wine and something happens between the 2 of them.
And this is where the switch goes from it being like sort of this dark romance to, oh, this might actually be a soft romance. The beginnings.
They voluntarily have sex with each other that night. The connection between the 2 of them is just palpable. It is intense.
I feel like we should reward our listeners with one of the gems inside the book. Something a little hot, a little steamy once the healing starts.
All right, let's let our sexy stud bring us home the healing.
Please.
I pull out and push back in, hard and demanding, and it's teeth and nails and moans and sweat. Cora scratches at my arms, meeting me thrust for thrust, her neck arched back against the pillow as she whimpers and gasps. I glide my hands up her chest to her neck, my fingers catching on her necklace and gently curling around her throat as I plunge into her. My lips caress her ear, biting the lobe, and I whisper, "Did you miss my cock?" Cora grabs my ass, spearing me with her fingernails, tightening her legs around me while she moans, "Yes, god damn." I pull out completely, flipping her around until she's on her stomach, and re-enter her from behind. She cries out, fisting the bedsheets as I slink my arm under her stomach and yank her up, driving into her with zero restraint. I tug her hair back until she's fully flush against me, back to chest, moaning and mewling. One of my hands roves over her breasts, twisting each nipple, while the other finds her throat and tilts her face towards me. Our mouths collide over her shoulder, and I can taste every beautiful fucking sound I'm ripping out of her. Our tongues tangling and hungry as our bodies crash together. My lips make their way to her ear again as my right hand slides between her legs and finds her clit. "You're mine, Cora Belle." I breathe out, claiming her, branding her, marking her as my own. Her wetness slicks my fingers as I massage her into a frenzy, feeling her shuddering, spinning, begging for release.
All right, so who would have thought a book that started the way it did would come out with such a steamy scene like this?
I did.
I had a hard time like transitioning.
Yeah.
But as a standalone, and also the way it's read, thank you, Sexy Stud, for reading that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a little surprised they didn't start off a little bit more slow and soft and like gentle, but yeah.
But also it's kind of acclaiming, like this is ours.
And you also had heard that even though Mandy and Dean were having regular sex, it was a little bit vanilla.
Yes.
So it sounds
Yeah.
like this is Dean's cup of tea in chorus, too.
I think Dean is being provided this moment to be a little bit more adventurous than he has in the past, and it's a new leaf.
And the next morning, Cora wakes up and just gets the fuck out of there. She's so torn. This is her sister's ex-fiancé.
Yeah.
The man she was stuck in a basement with, who she was forced to have sex with. But something happened in that basement between the two of them. And they cannot stay away from each other. You go throughout the book now just seeing that as much as Cora tries to resist everything, they keep falling back in bed with each other.
Mhm.
They keep emotionally needing each other. They keep building on their connection. At night, she needs Dean, and she wants Dean more than she's wanted anything. But during the light of day, she hates herself so bad. And Dean's just kind of falling for her. And you're just still watching these flashbacks happen throughout the book. You actually have a flashback of the first time he saw her at school. And you're like, he has loved her from the moment he met her.
Oh, so cute.
He's so struck.
Ugh.
I'm going to read you his inner monologue from the first time he saw her. The class mutters a bored hello as I continue to plan out our future in my mind. Homecoming and prom are a given. It would be great if we end up going to the same college together, but long-distance relationships aren't so bad. We'll make it work. We'll be married by 30, buy a big house in the suburbs, and have 3 blonde-haired babies by 35. We'll travel a lot, then move right by the ocean when we retire. I wonder if she likes the ocean.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I mean, can you tell I'm a big Dean fan?
Yes. It's adorable.
So much happens in this book.
There's so much more story that we could really get into.
Mhm.
But that is the meat and potatoes that I don't want to tell the listeners. I
I
want you guys
know.
to crack this book open and read it and go on this roller coaster emotional ride of trauma and healing and bonding and
I really want to stress that you will be healed by the end of the book.
Yes. 1,000%. And that's not just the tasty drinks talking.
Right.
And I also like the way it happens because it's very real world. It's not like all of a sudden everybody gets along. There's a journey that we have to get through for everybody to get to a spot where things can be okay.
A very healthy journey.
Yes.
They do a really good job of it.
If you're not somebody who has a problem with some of these trigger warnings and you really want a deep, intimate, heartfelt book with deep, deep connections, read this. And I got to tell you, so I read this book and I lost it. I am a Jennifer Hartman junkie. So there are 3 interconnected standalones that are they're not really a series, but they're all connected. And you hear about these inklings in this first book of Still Beating.
Did you read the other 2 fucking books?
I did.
Oh my God.
I haven't read Tabitha's story yet, but during the storyline of Still Beating, you hear come up in the news about them finding a young man who had been missing for 22 years. I read his story, Lotus.
Oh.
If you want to read books that will have tingles growing through your entire body and just have a lump in your throat the entire time, pick up Jennifer Hartman books because I am fucking hooked. I got 5 more right
Oh
now
my
in
God.
my library that I'm going to read.
I love this.
Yes.
You have to sleep sometime.
No. You can just sit laying in bed. You leave your device on and it's playing in your ear. Put on sleep timer and you fall asleep to it. It does give you fucked up dreams, though, if you are listening to fucked up books. Or sometimes some really wet, dirty dreams that occur. So it depends on what part of the book, which is funny because whenever I do that, I have to wake up the next morning and rewind because I'm like, I don't remember what I actually even listened to.
Yeah.
Restart chapter. There's a whole lot more for you to have. And then you find out Earl left a victim alive.
Yes.
And he couldn't kill her, and her name is Tabitha. Tabitha's story is also part of the Jennifer Hartman universe, so go out there and read that. I'm pretty much drunk. This has been a lot, so is it that time?
I think it's that time.
It's that time.
Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to
Dishing with the Dames.
All right. So, usually we do funny ones. When I read this book, it actually popped up a memory for me. I remember being with my friend. We were 13, 14, and parents were away, and we were looking through the books, and we found The Joy of Sex.
Oh, my God.
So, of course we went looking through everything, and I have a distinct memory of finding a page that was there was a whole section on pretend rape. And having it be a thing of some people enjoy simulating rape.
Wait a minute. So The Joy of Sex was published in the 70s?
I think so. I obviously didn't look at this in the 70s.
That is so advanced for the time.
I read it and was oh, and it's all about you have a conversation and this is pretend, but some people feel freedom when they pretend this and get enjoyment. And as long as you're having conversations, it's always very much this is a healthy thing to do if it's consensual and talked about ahead of time. First of all, seeing that at 13 was wow.
That's fucking mind-blowing for that age.
So my question to you ladies is, have you ever had a partner who's requested that? Have you ever requested it of a partner?
Oh, all right. Not my kink at all. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum, but it's definitely not for me. And if a partner had approached me that they wanted to do this, that's probably a hard line for me. But maybe we could compromise and find something in the middle that would hopefully fulfill a bit of that. Yeah, no, not, nope, not fun.
Yeah, it's also not for me, but I know people who it is their thing, and it's not something that I'll shame. To each their own. If that's your thing, that's your thing. I want to respect anybody that has been in a rape scenario, but I think that it's just part of the world that we live in. There's lots of fringe kink.
I mean, I think for some folks, they find it as a very healing process, or when I've talked about it with other people before, they find it as a freeing thing to allow them to do things that they have been brought up to be thinking is dirty or wrong, and discussing it ahead of time and then having the scenario and doing the role play where it's not their fault, but they get to enjoy the kink.
It is kind of the ultimate, I am supposed to never be allowed to do this.
Right,
so if you've been held back your whole life, this is kind of the ultimate. Yeah.
This is a common thread that we talk about over and over and over again. It's about being able to have healthy, solid conversations with your partner about what turns you on.
Yeah.
And what is your hard line and what you're willing to try with someone so that you can both get mutual satisfaction out of your relationship. Again, not my jam, but if it's yours, do it in a safe environment. Consenting adults can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, consenting adults above the age of majority. Yeah.
You're blowing my mind. Joy of Sex, I had to look it up. It was published in 1972.
Wow.
So the think in 1972
older than we are.
Publication, was that progressive?
Well, it's the height of the sexual revolution. So we actually have those people to thank for where we are today, because they were the trailblazers where women were like, no, we are empowered to have sex. We can stand on equal footing with men. And then starting to really bring to the forefront all these things that were hidden behind doors and talking about it freely.
Great talk, ladies. Great talk. So I got to tell you, this is probably one of my favorite parts of every episode that we do. We talk so much about these books and we kind of bring our listeners up to the middle. But what I really enjoy is when we actually start to put a number down for each of these. Because a lot of times the two of you shock the ever-loving shit out of me when it comes to how we actually rate these books. So how about we do it?
Yes.
We're going to start with romance. You can give this anywhere from 1 to 5 roses. How many roses are you giving this? Let me start with you, Lex.
Starting with me, because it's romance.
It's a little romance.
And you know how I feel about romance.
Mhm.
I am actually giving the romance on this a 4 because it is absolutely driven by the intimacy, the love. If you didn't have those pieces, there wouldn't be any healing. There actually wouldn't be any of the drama. Like, it is all about the romance. So I'm giving it a 4.
You lighting candles, opening a bottle of bubbly?
No. It's one of those things where, like, I've talked about this before, dark romance, real hard for me.
Yeah.
And particularly if there's sexual assault or rape in a book, it's really hard for me to then get into it anything other than, like we talked about this last season, I had to reframe reading the dark romance as a thriller. And once I did that, I could get through it. I didn't have to do that with this book. It could be exactly what it was because the romance carried it through for me.
Yeah. Ms. Bird, what did you think? How romantic was this book?
I am also coming in at a 4. I thought it was super, super romantic. The only reason I didn't go like all the way to a 5 was just because there were so many moments where like the back and forth kind of killed me. Like I felt the same as Dean, where the hot, cold,
Totally.
the drama with Cora was killing me. It was hurting my soul. It hurt me that it felt like she needed validation from other people to feel okay about loving him. She needed to hear that it was okay from Mandy, that her mom still loved her and supported it, and in fact, maybe had always seen it with Dean. She heard those 2 things, and then she went, oh, it's okay, so I can go all in on this. I'm allowed to go all in from other people's perspectives. So that kind of bumped it down a notch. I was like, it's less romantic that way for me. That being said, it was still extremely romantic. Very loving. The epilogue was very cute and satisfying and tied it all up in a nice Hollywood ending.
Yeah.
So if she had been like, I don't care what anybody thinks, I've decided I love him, that would have been a 5 for you.
Yeah, like have all the guilt about stealing your sister's fiancé, but also don't downplay the love that you absolutely do have.
But I think it's even more deep-rooted than that. A lot of times you heard in the book, she felt like she was a sister that was less than. That she was second fiddle to Mandy. And I think a lot of that played in on it. I agree with both of you in what you said. That's what landed me at a 4. I felt that this book had a lot of intimacy in it that maybe we haven't had in a lot of our other books, like deep emotional intimacy because of what they had been through. And I could feel that coming off the pages as I was reading it. Sometimes when you're reading something or listening to something, if it gives me goosebumps and it's evoking a reaction out of my body, that's usually when I'm like, oh, this is intense. So a 4 for me all the way. This is going to be an interesting one. Let's talk about the smut. You can give this anywhere from 1 to 5 raindrops. All right, Birdie, what did you think about the schmut in this book?
So, yeah, this is definitely a fascinating study in how smutty is something. I'm coming in at a 3.5. I thought it was excellent. It was well done. Moments that were probably not supposed to be hot in some ways, like absolutely were, because it was very well written and emotionally involved, which is, as we know, important for me. It was very hard to take it all the way to a 5. The beginning of it was almost, in a really fucked up way, more steamy than the end smutty scenes because they were so intimate. It almost went like slower, even though they were quick scenes, actually. Time slowed down. You were left really feeling it afterwards. Whereas the other ones, it was like passion, hot. Yes, the first time they fucked was like very good, very spicy, interesting. He's flipping her around the whole bunch of situations. There's lots of cool stuff happening. I couldn't get all the way there. This is fascinating.
Yeah. All right, Lex, what are you coming in with?
Okay, so I am coming in at a 2.5. For me, it's funny thinking about the category smut. We say that very tongue-in-cheek, but what we're talking about, at least for me when I'm rating for smutness, is did I find it hot? I'm not just talking about is there sex in the book? So like the whole first half of the book, romantic to me, but not hot because of the situations they were in. It's not till the healing starts coming in and such that the sex scenes become the hot smutty that I enjoy. So that's why I'm kind of rating it low, just because 2/3 of the book, nope, dries the Sahara down there for me. That's just my score, though, and how I feel about it. Once they start healing and then they're having fun, then it's like, oh yeah, I'm into this. Okay, cool. So 2.5.
Well, I'll split the difference between the two of you. I'm coming in at a 3. Yes, there was smut in this book, but I feel any time that they were having sex or any type of sexual interaction, there was always turmoil around it. In the beginning, it was because it was forced by a serial killer. And then it was forced by a connection that they had, even though they made a choice to have it. And it was a turmoil of, this is my sister's ex-fiancé, and now I'm sleeping with him. So even though it was there, I never found it steamy. Did my panties get wet? Absolutely not. But it still got a 3 because I think there was a level of intensity in there that really connected with me that almost brought the heat factor up. It was more than just dirty, kinky sex. This was a lot of emotion tied behind it. And I think that's why it came through as a 3 for me. All right, this is a big one, especially for a book like this. Let's move on to story. You can give this anywhere from 1 to 5 storybooks. Birdie, is this like a Pat the Bunny to you or an Anna Karenina? Where is this landing?
For me, this book was absolutely incredible. Part 1, where they were in the basement, was phenomenal. And it's funny because at one point, Dean says to Cora, I think there are times where you wish you were back in that basement. And I was like, ooh, do I wish I was back in that basement too for this book?
Yeah.
And that was a powerful moment. I was like, fuck. And then I was like, I think she kind of does, because life was simple down there. That first part of the book was so good. The back half of part 2 of the story dragged a little bit, but I really, really liked the story. I do also want to give a shout out to Lily, the best friend of Cora, who is absolutely fucking hilarious. She's the comedic relief that you don't get until you're out of the basement, really. She's hilarious, and every scene with her is awesome. I very much enjoyed her as the comedy element, and it rounded out the whole story, having her. I am putting it at a 4. I really, really liked it. And I would say just go read it. There's so much more that we didn't even talk about. We barely scratched the surface of part 2.
All right, Lex, where did you land on this?
I'm finding it's interesting that we're aligning a lot today. I fall in at a 4. I thought that was so well written. I was riveted. I agree with Birdie. Just action-packed. It's hard to say action-packed when they're chained in a basement, but the tension through the whole first half of the book was amazing. And then you get into all the feels in the second half of the book. And I liked how she was examining it from all kinds of different angles. So nobody was a two-dimensional character, which I really appreciate. So yeah, a 4.
Well, we all agree. Chime, chime, chime. I'm at a 4. The depth of this book meant a lot to me. I really had an emotional connection to the characters. They felt real. The situation that they went through, okay, maybe wasn't real. Maybe nothing I will ever go through. But just watching how they're healing and dealing with the situation and the connections and the real life situations that they had to go through after to heal from this type of trauma felt so real to me and gritty. No lie, listening to this 2 times, even though I knew the entire story, second time around, lump in my throat, watery eyes, holding back tears at particular points because it just evoked such emotion. I thought it was very well written, and I think that has a lot to do with it. It flowed. Even though there was a high, back to a low lull before it went back high again, I kind of didn't realize there was a lull in that middle when they were coming back and trying to figure out how they reacclimated. So a 4 out of me. All right. Let's throw it in the blender along with our broken hot cocktail, or let's shake it up in the shaker. What did we think overall of this book? You can give it anywhere from 1 to 5 Eggamaweggy plants. All right? I'm starting with you, Lex, the woman who doesn't dig duck romance.
So, straining out the cocktail. Giving it a 4. I really ended up liking this book. I thought in the first 2 chapters, I was actually thinking of like calling you up and going, I can't do this. I cannot do this. But Jennifer, you had me. You just pulled me right along and I couldn't put the book down. And it was really annoying when my lunch break would stop. And I'm like, no, I have to read some more.
Yeah.
God damn it. When do I get to get on my train so I can read the rest of it? You made me like a book in this genre. And this is one I usually don't touch with a 10-foot pole. So that's quite an accomplishment. Thanks for writing a great book.
Can I just rewind and then replay just what she said?
You skinned that?
Absolutely.
No need to say anything further?
Absolutely. I really don't know if I could have said it any more perfectly for myself either. Super aligned. I think I would be more likely to read a book in this genre. I was still definitely nervous that I wasn't going to like reading something this dark, and I couldn't put it down. A 4.
Yeah. I can read anything and still be okay with it. There are some subgenres and tropes that make me a tad uncomfortable that maybe I don't dig anymore. I've read some pretty dark romance and I still enjoy it. For me, this ended up being at a 4.5. The emotional component behind it, the real feelings of it, this is up there for me. And again, I've already started to read 2 more of her books. Again, 1 more fucking author to add to the list. We cannot do this anymore. Listeners, if you don't know, we have this great rule. The host picks the book. It goes on our list. If at any point during the reading process, any of the 2 out of the 3 of us are not happy with the book or not comfortable being able to talk about it, we have the right to veto the book. So again, this was one of those that I'm like, I wonder if that's going to happen. But I want to thank the 2 of you for really being open and diving into this and getting to experience something different. And that's the same thing for you listeners. Have your boundaries. If you're open to it, read it. I think this is a great author that is going to be able to evoke heartfelt emotion from everything she writes on the pages. I'm going at a 4.5 for me.
Hell yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I do this with you guys. Reading is a safe place to get out of your comfort zone, to take a look into new areas and see like, oh, why does that make me feel uncomfortable? And also find out new things you enjoy that you thought like, oh, I didn't know I was interested into that. So that's the beauty of what we do.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
I had a grand old time today, and it could be because I'm a little drunk off of our broken hearts, but hey, what do you know?
Cheers, dames.
Cheers.
As always, we want to thank you for listening, and do not forget to visit us on all of our social media pages, The Lusty Library Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, The Lusty Library Pod on Blue Sky, and our newborn baby, which we will not do the baby sounds again, Lex. Do not worry. Our Patreon page.
And do not forget to hop over to whichever platform you're listening to us on. Hey, actually, go ahead and subscribe to us on all of them. That way you never miss an episode. So go see us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Hit that follow.
I think we're pretty much everywhere.
Everywhere?
If you can download a podcast, you should find us there. If you don't do the social media thing, if you don't want to follow us on any podcast platform, make sure you go to the LustyLibraryPodcast.com. All the way down the bottom, downtown. You can click and join our mailing list. You'll get notification right to your inbox about new episodes that launched and drink recipes. So you don't have to go fishing around our tabs on our website to find out what cocktail we're drinking next.
Hey, all of you out there that are listening right now, we'll wait. You can go write us a review right now. Just take the 30 seconds as you're sitting here listening, pick up your phone, go to Spotify, go to Apple, go to whatever platform you're listening on, and just click 5 stars. No, not the 4-star one. Go 1 star up from there. Yep, 5. Great. Thank you. Okay, thanks. All right.
Great news. I think if you screw it up and hit 4 by accident, you can go back and fix it to 5.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Good call. Yeah. No, but seriously, we would love you to go in, write us a review, put in some stars. We'd really appreciate it. Make it look like you're listening, because right now it doesn't look like you're listening, but we know you're out there.
And we appreciate you listening to this one. We gave you a book that was a little darker, so next time, join us for something a whole lot lighter.
Oh, Lex, what did you pick?
I picked a really fun book called My Funny Demon Valentine by Aurora Asher. And, nothing like a little demonic romance.
I can't lie. I cannot wait. It is going to be like complete 180.
That's what I'm all about. Just whiplash.
Yeah, we need some highly irreverent humor.
And as always, we appreciate your support. We appreciate you drinking the drinks and reading the books with us. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.